Good afternoon. Today, I'd like to start by talking about the INST standards for students and individualizing instruction. So this is just a brief agenda. So there are technology standards for students, just as there are standards for everything else. And the INST standards have been written and revised. I think the fourth time was the most recent in 2016. And the big difference with this set of standards is that the early ones talked very specifically about skills. The students should be able to identify the printer, the mouse, the peripherals. The student should be able to use the keyboard and things like that. Now they're embedded in the curriculum and they talk more about what the learner should be. So to be an empowered learner, for example, you do need to understand those technology skills. You also need to have that ability, like a lifelong learner, to be able to figure out what technology is going to be best for what purpose. We're going to go through these individually. So we talked about the empowered learner. The global collaborator is when students can use their tools to collaborate with students that they may not even know. You see people doing this with their video games all the time, and they have their chat boxes set up and they have different things going. But with the global collaborator in the classroom, you can partner your class with another class and do standards aligned curriculum, working on different projects, even across the oceans. The innovative designer is the ability to use different tools to create. You may be doing robotics. You may be doing graphic design, but you're using a design process and reviewing it, and then you can go forward with it. The creative communicator allows people to work together across social media or collaboration tools to create something, to develop something, and then share it. The computational thinker, this goes way back. It used to be that people learned how to program, and it was as simple as moving a little shape across the screen. Then it became a little bit more involved. Now, computational thinking has to do with algorithms, the ability to understand how the computer is going to process something, and then the ability to create something with that. The digital citizen uses the computer and other technology safely. They know how to recognize when something is their own property or someone else's. They're careful about who they share their information with, and they avoid cyberbullying. And the knowledge constructor uses databases to curate resources. So there are a couple of tools where they can do that. One would be Scoop It, and that's a member type of social media. Another might be Wakelet, which is relatively new and allows someone to put in different resources, different websites, PDFs that they've created to house that information in a specific place and share it. There are also technology standards for teachers, which align with the technology standards for students. So now we're going to talk about individualized instruction. This could be differentiated instruction, personalized learning, or another form. So Barbara Bray and Kathy McClaskey created a table to compare personalization, differentiation, and individualization. And I'm sure that you saw that in the module notes and the link to see the full table. Differentiated instruction is varied content, process, product, and learning environment. These are the different ways that you can differentiate. So when you're differentiating by content, for example, you might be using a tool like Newsela, which lets you present readings at different levels for your students, so they can all discuss the same thing. So for example, if you were studying volcanoes, you might go into Newsela and find a reading that would be at the grade level that you're teaching, but you know that some of your students are English language learners, for example. So you might find something simpler for them, and you may have some advanced students find something more challenging, but the articles will all deal with the same information so that when you're having your class discussion, everybody can participate. When you assign the project, everybody can have the same background going into it without singling out individuals so that they know who certain people are who may need additional help. If you're differentiating by process, then maybe you have a table, as on this example, where the teacher works with certain students, or you may have students working individually. So this gives a chance for students to learn the best at their best process. And then by product, you may assign something and have different options. So, and just as I do in these differentiating by product is when you assign a project, but you may have different ways for people to present it. It could be an oral presentation, it could be written, it could be PowerPoint, or some students may prefer to make a video, but still covering the information. Or you could be differentiating by learning environment, and the students would be able to either work on the floor, work at their desk, sit at the rug. Some students really need that quiet time to go off and work by themselves, and others work well in a small group. Personalized learning, on the other hand, is more student-directed than teacher-directed. So you can have personalized learning by voice, choice, or agency. The continuum of voice shows that the student takes, in personalized learning by voice, students express their goals, they talk to the teacher about what they would like to do, and that way they're participating in their learning. The continuum of choice is when there are choices for different options of assignments or different ways to present, but the student helps to define what they would like to do. And then engagement talks about their flow from being compliant to connecting. So that concludes this Module 1 discussion. We talked about the INST standards, which we'll be looking at in more detail, and also about personalized, differentiated, and individualized learning. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at lkeating@framingham.edu, and I will be as responsive as I can.